Well, hello everyone and welcome to a very exciting episode here on the MIgardener channel. Today we're going to be making a super simple water filter. I get asked all the time, Luke, is there a way that I can filter my water of toxins if I'm worried about using the water? First of all, if you are extremely worried, I would suggest maybe not using this application. This is a very DIY home application that's going to filter about 75 to 80% of the toxins out of your water. I've done a little bit of research on this prior to filming, so I feel confident saying that this will take care of most home applications. However, if you're worried about lead in your water or certain heavy metals, this will not take away heavy metals. So the heavy metals in your water can't go away using this application, but most pollutants or toxins can be taken care of. So 75 to 80% of your problems. So I would say most households can use this application. But again, a very simple water test can answer that for you if you're very concerned. The thing you're going to want to get is a jug of your choice. This is just a juice jug. You can use a milk jug, whatever you want. Obviously, the larger the jug, the more water you can filter at once. And what we're going to do is it's going to be an active filter. So you're going to want a nail. You're going to poke some holes in the bottom so that you run water through the top. It runs through just like your water filter in your home. You're going to run water through. It's going to filter it out and absorb all the toxins and pollutants, and then it's going to drain out the bottom. To that, you're going to want to get some coarse gravel. It's very simple, 2 ingredients for this thing, 2 materials really. You're gonna want some coarse gravel. You can get this from a pet supply store. Just use in aquariums. That's aquarium tank gravel, or any gravel really, doesn't matter. And then you wanna get some this is just finely ground and coarse chipped charcoal. You don't want to get charcoal briquettes from the store and grind those up because those oftentimes have chemicals in them to make them more flammable. Stuff like lighter fluid is actually injected into the charcoal briquettes, and that can be very counterproductive to what you're trying to take out of your water. So I suggest using stuff from just like a fireplace or like a burn pile outside. We just pull it right from a burn pile outside. So it is free of any flammable stuff and any stuff that's going to actually go into the water and be counterproductive to what you're trying to take out of the water. All right, so the next thing you're going to want to get is just a mat, because it can be very messy, or do this outside because the charcoal can be quite messy. So let's get started with getting the holes into the bottom of the container. I'm just using a tiny little nail. I'm going to do that now, and I'll get back with you in a second. All right, so just getting these holes in here. You don't need a whole lot of them. I mean, the more holes you have, the faster it's going to flow through the bottom. But what you want to do ideally is have a flow that's not so fast that it runs right out the bottom without being filtered. You want it to be a slow process. You want to make sure that the water is kind of stopped up, because the charcoal that you're utilizing here, this charcoal is an activated charcoal. It's very porous, and a lot of times people, if you're sick or if you've drank too much alcohol or something like that, they suggest taking charcoal pills. And that's basically an activated charcoal, just like this is. And what it's going to do is it's going to absorb all those toxins in your system. And so it's the exact same application, just for filtering your water for your garden. And very cheap. I mean, we're talking less, this cost us nothing. So, you know, you can get these outside. You can just find a nice some river rock, you know, and so that doesn't have to cost you anything. That's all you have to do is light a fire and get that. And this is just free. You're going to throw it out anyway. So it's a free water filter. You really can't go wrong. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a layer, and you're going to want to layer these. You're going to put a layer of gravel. And then what we're going to do, once we have about an inch or two of gravel, you want to take the activated charcoal and put that in. It doesn't need to be clean. The water coming out will be a little bit dirty, but what we're going to do is before we utilize it on the garden, we're going to run it for a little bit to make sure that a lot of the small particulates come out of it, and it's going to run a little bit dirty because the charcoal's not washed and the stones aren't really washed. So it's nothing that's going to hurt your garden, but if you're, you know what I mean, if you're looking for very clean water, sometimes people expect filtered water to be clean. Well, it doesn't have to be clean, but it just to be free of toxins and stuff. So this is going to do that, and it's going to do it very well. You want a thick layer of charcoal because that's what's going to filter out all the toxins. So the more charcoal you have, the better. This is not going to be super, we already have very good water, so this is not going to be super thick for us. This is just for a demonstration. I do not suggest filling up the entire bottle though, because you do want some water to be able to enter here and then filter down. So I only suggest filling it up at most halfway. So now that we got that in, we're just going to settle it by shaking it and by banging it, and it's going to make sure everything is nice and compacted. And then we're going to put the final layer of rocks on. And that's going to just make sure that the charcoal actually stays down, because the charcoal can float. And what happens is if you don't put something heavy on top, when you put water in there, the charcoal is just going to float up and it's not going to do anything. So you want to make sure that the charcoal chunks are weighted down by lots of gravel. And some charcoal will float. I'm not going to say that none will, but I'm saying like the larger chunks, all the charcoal dust inevitably will float to the top, but it won't hurt anything. It's just going to keep all the bigger chunks down. So you actually have an active filter going on. All right, so after a little bit of finessing, we found the amount of holes for this container was around 20. That's going to differ based on the container that you use, because like I said, you want to filter it slow so the activated charcoal can actually work. As you can see, got a lot of dripping here, and that's what you want, but you don't want it to be a steady flow. You want it to actually be a drip, because that actually means that the water is being held up in here so that the activated charcoal can do its thing. As you can see, we've actually washed the charcoal and the gravel clean. That takes a little while, probably between 5 and 10 minutes. And as you can see, the water coming out of here is clean. So it's no longer black like it was. If you find that the holes are getting a little bit stopped up, that occasionally will happen when there's a little bit of charcoal jammed in one of the holes. All you have to do is take your finger and rub it along all the holes. It'll unblock it, and then the water will continue flowing. But again, this is a very efficient way of filtering your water for free. This did not cost us anything. So I highly recommend trying this before you try some of the more expensive filters. But again, if you're very, very worried, I highly recommend getting a water test and then getting something a little more commercial. But again, this is going to take care of between 75 and 80% of those nasties in your water that you don't want. So there you go. There is a super simple, super quick, easy to make water filter, and it is something that anyone can make, and I highly recommend doing it if you are worried about the water that you're using on your garden. So there you go. I highly recommend trying this. Post in the comments box below if you give it a shot, and let me know how it turns out for you. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. See ya. Bye.